Order.
Resumption of debate on the motions standing in the name of the Minister for Finance and Mr. Leong Man Wai.
Mr. Patrick Tay.
I'm concerned about some of the points and assertions made by Honourable Member Mr. Leong Man Wai earlier. I wanted to make some comments. First, in relation to work passes, he had suggested we raise the EP qualifying salaries from the current 4.5K, 4,500 to $10,000, and for S passes to be raised from $2,500 to $4,500. I'm not sure whether Mr. Leong is aware of the ground sentiments on this, both from employers and workers. My union leaders have shared with me to handle this raising in a carefully considered manner. Why? Each time the S-Pass rates, which applies to foreigners, are raised, Singaporeans who are working alongside these pass holders and doing the same job may not always get the immediate percentage increases at the same time, which is why it has to be done incrementally and carefully in a considered manner. Second, let me also state that we also have a significant number of S-Pass and EP holders in the healthcare and essential services sectors, looking after all of us and fighting alongside us in this pandemic. Many of them are my fellow union members as well. And a suggested sharp curb of S-Pass and E-Pass in these sectors, as well as in many of these essential services, must also be handled with care. Third, Mr. Leong attributed the 80,000 PRs given at the height of immigration all to work pass holders. I hope Mr. Leong is aware Singaporeans also marry foreigners and apply permanent residency for them. Member Ms. Hazel Phua earlier suggested that we should squeeze out more foreigners, create an even tighter labour market, and this will result in median wages going up. I think this is maybe a bit too simplistic analysis. Tighter labour market alone, by removing all foreign PMETs, does not necessarily result in higher median wages. Real average wage growth at the overall economy level depends on three factors, namely labour productivity growth, growth in labour's terms of trade, and third, growth in the labour share of output. Mr. Speaker, Sir, NTUC and the labour movement, as a symbiotic partner, is fully cognizant that Singapore has to stay open as a business hub and keep pace with the global competition. We agree and support our national operating philosophy to grow the cake so that we have a bigger slice and piece all around. In the same vein, we value and support tripartism, inclusive growth, and working together with the government to ensure we continue to strengthen the Singaporean core. I've been a strong advocate of strengthening the Singaporean core and robust policies in this space since 2011, just like many of my fellow Labour MPs and PAP MPs in this House. And I'm heartened that in the past 10 years of lobbying, many of these measures, from advisories, guidelines, policies, programs, regulations, have been put in place by the Ministry of Manpower, with strong support of our tripartite partners and even our economic agencies such as the Monetary Authority of Singapore and the Economic Development Board to better protect and support our Singaporean workforce and provide them with a fair and level playing field in the job market. I therefore disagree with Honourable Member Mr. Leong's motion, which suggests no concrete action has been taken. Through the NTUC SNEF PME Task Force engagements, we have heard ground sentiments of a plethora of issues and challenges faced by Singaporean PMEs, more than 9,000 of them, all Singaporeans, in the past 8 months. PMEs are most concerned with the lack of job security amidst this outlook and the need for more support in employment and training opportunities. This is especially so as the Singapore economy continues to experience ripple effects and challenges of the COVID-19 situation and other factors like technological advances and digitalization. These challenges seem to impact our mature PMEs aged between 40 to 60 more, as they attributed their age as a key reason for their plight. Mature PMEs have voiced concerns about displacement, disruption, and the issue of competition in a globalized and fast-changing economy. Fortunately, anecdotes from PMEs who shared how they encountered instances of EP holders being employed for jobs that Singaporeans can take on are a minority and confined to certain sectors and companies, and not widespread. In the converse, I also hear of positive sharing of HR practitioners and employers taking great pains and significant efforts to convince their overseas HQs to consider and recruit Singaporeans for positions in the region and in Singapore. I sincerely thank these HR practitioners and enlightened employers for believing in Singaporeans and doing their part to ensure that Singaporeans have a fair chance and shot at job opportunities. In our engagements, our PMEs understand the need for foreign workforce to complement the local workforce. They do not advocate for the closing of borders to foreigners, but they want resolute actions taken against employers who are recalcitrant in their hiring policies to protect our locals from discrimination. They also hope to pick up the in-demand skills to take on the new jobs. The reason why some of our workers experience discrimination is not due to foreign competition, but due to a small proportion of egregious companies and employers who are out to exploit the system. While we take cognizance that many measures and policies, including the tripartite guidelines on fair employment practices, the Fair Consideration Framework, triple week scrutiny, tightening of requirements for S-Pass and E-Passes, including the formation of TAFEP, etc., had been put in place over the years to minimize unfair hiring and workplace practices. And I'm glad to note that we are constantly asking ourselves what more needs to be done to weed out the small proportion of egregious companies out to exploit the system. We need to look at ways to ensure that local PMEs receive fair opportunities and treatment while maintaining competitiveness in the economy. On this note, and for these very facts and circumstances, I therefore cannot accept the motion standing in the name of nominated member, Mr. Leong Man Wai. I'm glad that the government has responded to our advocacy efforts and calls with the setup of the Tripartite Committee on Workplace Fairness, and Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong in his National Day rally addressed and updated that we will look at fair employment guidelines becoming law and the setup of a new tribunal to address workplace discrimination by those few black sheep. I think these are big and bold moves, and I think important for us to spend time engaging the tripartite partners and stakeholders before implementation. Many union members, workers, and PMEs I've spoken to are heartened by the announcements and acknowledge that these are the right steps taken to punish those errant employers and correct discriminating hiring policies and practices. They are positive that this will send a clear message against workplace discrimination and eradicate unfair hiring practices. NTUC will represent the voices of our workers and PMEs and contribute actively in the Tripartite Committee on Workplace Fairness to look into improving workplace fairness through both legislative and non-legislative options and consider measures to tackle workplace discrimination. Beyond legislation, we will need to continuously raise HR standards to further enhance our HR practices and capabilities so that practices and processes are more transparent. HR practitioners, especially those in the recruitment functions, play a vital role in ensuring that the companies adhere to the employment legislation and regulations to improve compliance with fair employment practices. They are also the advocates for the recruitment of Singaporeans in positions within their companies. It is therefore important we move towards increasing certification and accreditation of HR practitioners, as well as providing shared HR services for SMEs. We will also continue to surface recommendations to strengthen the Singaporean core, and this will include, first, enhancing the EP application review process by considering a range of factors beyond the individual applicants' educational qualifications and salary as well as 2, facilitating skills transfer from foreign specialists to local PMEs through skills transfer programs. These are suggestions we have raised in the past many years, and I'm glad Leader of Opposition has also weighed in on this. Third, strengthening TAFEP to take decisive action against errant employers who pay lip service to the Fair Consideration Framework. Finally, beyond the above recommendations, it is important for tripartite partners and our workers, including PMEs, to invest even more in training and skills upgrading. For a start, employers and businesses can partner NTUC and the labour movement in this journey. In this age of disruption, digitalization, transformation and next normal, the tripartite partners need to stand even more united together to support, enable and ensure our workers stay ready, relevant and resilient. Ready with the new skills, relevant to the new jobs and resilient to the new changes. This is so that we can better weather any storms and pivot and transform when curveballs are hurled at us. Mr. Speaker, NTUC will continue to champion for our workers' interests to ensure that there must be fairness and zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind in the workplace and a level playing field for our Singaporean PMEs, including mature PMEs. In the same vein, we need to see that they are adequately protected, have access to quality jobs, and are equipped with the relevant skills to prepare for the future economy. I therefore support the motion by Minister Lawrence Wong, who acknowledges Singaporeans' anxieties and for the government to take action to manage the population of foreign manpower, ensuring fair treatment of workers by employers, and investing in skills upgrading. This will ensure Singaporeans stay employed and employable, and their lives and livelihoods are secured and improved.